indoors. And
Yeah, that water was, but afterwards.
yeah, my feet hurt, my back hurts.
Okay.
I know, 'cause I need to go on
So,
eBay and
yes.
there we go.
Can you?
I do.
So it's
Perfect.
it's 6:30. We're gonna go ahead and start the meeting, and we don't have a chairperson here, so I'm gonna kind of lead the meeting till we get to that part, if you don't mind, unless Mr. Browning, you'd like to.
Go for it. You're
Are
more
you sure?
qualified.
Okay, so I'm gonna, so again, we're here for the September 17th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, and I'm gonna call the roll. Mr. Bricker?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Hayward?
Here.
Ms. McWinney? Here. Mr. Rush?
Here.
Ms. Schul?
Here.
Ms. Stogler?
Here.
Ms. Thompson? Councilman Browning?
Here.
And Vice Chairwoman Hibinger. So I have heard from Ms. Thompson and Vice Chairwoman Hibinger that they would not be able to come. Dee Dee is at a tennis match, so she might show up. So if we want to do a motion to excuse, I'll take that motion.
Motion to excuse. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, then I will call the roll. Mr. Bricker?
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Schul?
Here.
Oh,
Yes.
Good job. Ms. Stogler?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we will run on to our election of officers. So we do need to get every year we'll be doing this, so if I can do a motion for chairperson. I'm gonna let Ted explain a little bit about the chairperson role, so you can feel at ease accepting a nomination.
Yeah, so most of you have been here for, and Allison was our last chairperson. Did a good job, and the chairperson is kind of the liaison a little bit to this board, but they're involved in certain meetings, but doesn't mean they're the only person involved from this board. But I think most of you are familiar with their role, and then we also have a vice chair, which helps run the meeting. But the chairperson is basically the leader of the meeting to keep things moving along.
Ted, can you outline, maybe for those of us like me that forget, what the additional roles and meeting timeframes are, ish?
For the chairperson?
Yeah. Like, I know they meet with the, kind of represent, when you meet with the Y, represent the board,
Mhm.
but how often do those meetings occur, or when do they occur?
Lately a lot, but they typically they're I would say maybe 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes quarterly, but there's not a lot of meetings, and sometimes what we'll do is just do a phone in because they can't make the meeting or something like that, and that's perfectly fine too. Basically, we want to just make sure they stay informed with those meetings and hear a lot of those things so that they can report back to this board, or and it doesn't always have to be the chairperson. They can appoint somebody else to that, if someone's interested in that or really has an interest in this topic, they can be there. But it's not a lot of extra meeting time. And again, if they're not, we'd like to make it in person, but if not, the phone in is perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't want anybody to accept and not really know what was
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
Are there any other questions about chair or vice chair position? Okay, is there any nominations for a chairperson? Okay, well, we can't nominate.
Are there any volunteers?
Any volunteers that would be willing to be a chair that somebody could nominate you for?
If there's nobody interested, I will volunteer to be chair.
Okay, can I get anybody wanting to make that nomination?
I will make that nomination.
Okay, can I get a second? Okay, and is there any other nominations? I'm going to assume no. Okay, then I'm gonna call the roll. Mr. Bricker?
Do I get a vote for myself?
You can abstain if you.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Ms. Cunningham?
Absolutely.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Schul?
Yes.
Ms. Stogler?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just run for the vice chairperson and then I'll hand the meeting over to you. You know, Dee Dee's not here to say no.
I know, I thought about the two ladies that weren't here should be nominated.
So unless
but-
somebody else, if, anybody's interested in volunteering for the vice chair, we can have a motion, or anybody interested?
Do we know if Dee Dee continues to be interested?
We don't.
We don't, but I know she enjoys it.
I think she does too, but I just didn't know.
I don't think it's gonna be an offensive thing either way.
I don't think so. Okay.
Alright, well, she's
Well, I
not here,
move
so I'm
to
gonna
nominate-
nominate Dee Dee then. Unless you, so the,
I'll follow on the sword. I'll move to nominate her.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Are there any other nominations? Nope. Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Bricker?
yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Haywood?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Shul?
Yes.
Ms. Stogler?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. And I'm going to hand over the mic to you.
Alright. On to number 4, approval of the motion summary for the meeting minutes, which you all received in your packets. Unless there's any questions, we just need someone to, make a motion to approve those.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find everyone's names. Okay, Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Haywood?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Shul?
Yes.
Ms. Stogler?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
And Chairman Bricker.
Yes. Alright, on to number 5, public comments. Anybody be joining us this evening?
I mean, our comments are only about this podcast, so can't really make a comment right now. Does that make sense? We wanna hear the discussion first. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
So we'll just make room for them, when we
That
get to
works.
that topic, we can.
Perfect. Alright, number 6, update of YMCA recreation services.
Yes, please.
Please.
So I'll introduce Lolita too. I don't know if everyone knows Lolita. She's our, basically our contact with the YMCA right now. She's, what'd you call it, interim director at the local YMCA, and we've had a lot of interaction with Lolita. She's been our main point of contact through the YMCA, and we've been working with her very, very well over the last few months. So, Lolita, I'll introduce.
Ted. Yes, Ted and I have got to know each other
Yeah.
well these past couple months. So I know you guys, I don't know if you all got a copy of the report that was just, it's over there, if not, but obviously I won't read it, you guys can look through it, but I just wanted to run through as a quick summary, of the recreation services that, the Y runs at the, currently. So like the youth and, the youth programs and classes, just to highlight the ones there, the fall soccer, the flag football, the tennis, those are all up and running. The co-ed basketball registration just opened this week. And flipping over to highlight some of the adult sports programs, again, the softball season's underway, the pickleball league, that one is late fall, so that registration will be opening within the next week as well. And then we have some open volleyball, basketball here and at Mingo. The next page, when you flip through it, the Jack Lawrence Pool, when you guys look at that, that is closed for the season, so we have officially shut that down, gone through all the cleaning, storing, draining the pool right now, so doing all of the maintenance and upkeep that needs to be done to shut that pool down. But of course, Mingo's still open with rentals, activities, programs, things are happening there as needed. The last section is basically special events. There's again a quick summary of the special events that happened, but the ones that I wanted to highlight are the last two on the back page there, the Bullets, the Color Run, and the Halloween Party. Those are the up and coming ones. So the Color Run is the new named Pumpkin Run, so that's what that is. That one's coming up on October 5th, and then the Halloween Party is already scheduled for October 26th. And the last thing I wanted to highlight was we did put a section on here just to show some community program highlights. You know, for just general community, free events that are, through, I guess, housed at the Y, you know, to come in, bring some people in and offer some free programming. And one of those at the very end we wanted to point out was we are having a neighborhood block party. And that one's coming up soon, September 29th. It's just a free open event for everybody to come on in and take part in the activities and programs. So definitely stick all those dates on your calendars and bring a friend. So if there's any questions or anything, I'll answer to the best of my abilities. No? Well, thank you guys.
All right, thank you. Nobody has any questions or anything? All right. Then we will move on to number 7, update of Parks and Rec.
So the first item, while Lily's still here, I wanted to kind of, I know there's probably been a lot of word out about the YMCA and the city's partnership. So I wanted to kind of address those items and just kind of work through those. We refer to them as our buckets, but we kind of separate these things out into a few different categories of recreation programming. The other bucket was the Delaware Forest Aquatics, and then the Mingo Pool, and then the Mingo Recreation Center. So I'll start with the recreation programming, so addressing some of the things there. We've looked at our partnership with them, and we're looking at ways to make that better. We've gotten comments from the public. There are areas we can definitely improve on, and we're working with the YMCA right now on those areas to improve those, like some timeliness of schedules, some organization, and even some, you know, updating some of the programs. A lot of the programs we do now are legacy programs that we did when the city ran the recreation programming. But been working with Lita and her staff to look at, you know, what can we do better in our recreation programming. And one of the things we're looking at right now is, I know there was some talk earlier about Little League in Delaware, so we're exploring that and seeing if that's an option. So that is something we want to improve on and get better at. The Delaware Forest Aquatics, after a lot of discussion, this was not a light topic for anyone, but we looked at, with the YMCA, we looked at all the options there and trying to find a way to accommodate this swim program. Hopefully everyone's familiar with it, but what we have is the Forest team is a new team that was formed in Delaware. They were formed, I think, probably last year, and they've been holding practice at different pools. And they approached the YMCA and asked about using the YMCA facility. So instead of just saying no, the YMCA and the city had a lot of discussion over this and listened to a lot of comments. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we came up with a decision that it's a program that the YMCA currently offers, this swimming program. So it wasn't a good fit for them to offer a second program in the YMCA that they currently already offer, because that kind of opens up the door to a lot of other programs that could, you know, that would want the same treatment. So the YMCA has hired a new swim coach. They have the Riptide swim program up and running, and they've officially, you know, we've told the Forest Aquatics that we won't be able to provide the space for them in the YMCA, and effectively moved on from that. And right now the Riptide program is rebuilding and moving forward. The Mingo Pool, you know, we got off to a rough start this season. Definitely, there is a lifeguard shortage nationwide, but we definitely got off to a rough start. I think we both recognize that, you know, there's some management issues that we could have done better, and we've worked through a lot of those. And I think to end the season, it definitely showed a lot of improvement out there. And I will respond also that I've got a lot of Google comments, particularly in the last 4 weeks, how I'd say 8 out of 9 of them were positive for the pool operation. So we did work through a lot of issues out there, and I think we learned some things that we can do better next year, and I'm looking forward to fixing those and making that a better experience for everyone in Delaware. The Mingo Recreation Center too, we are really we haven't addressed that one as much as the other hot topics. That was something we do want to address too, and we're meeting next week just to we've got a plan now on how to effectively address. The problem was it's a center that we think could be a more efficient, it could look better, it could help with attracting the public there, and so we're looking at some options there, and especially some maintenance solutions that we can make that a better place also. So we have made a lot of progress in the last few months. It's been a busy time, but working with Lolita, and they have a new CEO, Tony Collins, who's come in too, and I've known Tony for a long time. He's worked in public in Gahanna, and he was at the City of Columbus Recreation Parks, and then now he's at the YMCA. So Tony's been good to work with also, and Lolita's been good to work with, so I think we're finally making some progress on in improving. I think we're moving forward now instead of putting out fires. Anything to add to that, Lolita?
No, I think so too. I think it's been really great.
Okay.
It was a rough start, but yeah, I think we've been working really well together, and I think we've been moving forward too, so.
But I'd like to answer any questions you may have, and anything you've heard, and hopefully get answers for you.
Do you have, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, maybe some bullet points of changes that will be made for the upcoming season, stuff that you've discussed that we're probably not privy to? As far as my family personally has a lot of connectivity to Mingo Pool, whether it be darts or working there or whatever it is, and I know talking to other family friends, there's been a lot of issues at Mingo, and it's not just this year, it's been for several years now. So I'm curious to know what changes will specifically be made. I know people that have just decided, for example, this year, forget Mingo, they went and joined North Star or went to Zumbizi Bay because it was a better experience, which is disappointing considering Mingo's in our backyard. So I'm curious to know what changes will be made.
I think one place we could start with that is we put together a 60-day plan, and we have to update it because a lot of the items have been addressed in there, but that would be a good place to start to show you all the items that were addressed on. Mingo Pool is a separate topic in there, but it would highlight all the projects. And I think Monday we could go through that and get all the updates to give you the up-to-date status and send that out to you next week.
Sure.
But yeah, the 60-day plan is a good focus tool, and I think now we're just about to the stage of kind of looking forward and kind of planning some more long-term fixes out there. But just off the top of the head with the Mingo Pool itself, I know we had some chlorine issues out there. One of the things in our 60-day plan was to look at alternative. Is there a digital system that we can be alerted if the chlorine levels get too low anywhere? And I think a lot of the infrastructure for that is in place. So just getting that up and running and getting the right people there, on that. And I think we're going to address, the pool managers, making sure they're trained and they know how to train the lifeguard staff, because we are dealing with younger folks, and making sure that they have a more rigid, not necessarily rigid, but just more of an organized schedule to make sure that they're teaching these lifeguards and how we want things to be to run out there. But that 60-day plan has a lot of those topics, and not just on the Mingo Pool. So I'll pass that along to you, but I would rather get an update on it on Monday and see where everything's at and send that out to you.
Sure, that'd be great.
Make a note of that before I forget. Any other questions?
You addressed one of my main concerns was the systematic training of those lifeguards and then the recruitment well ahead of time of those lifeguards, but you spoke to that. I mean, we went to Disney over spring break, and I watched those lifeguards, and I watched a training session one morning. I was walking around and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we went to the Y, and I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable not having my eyes on my child, which it is my job to watch my child. But the difference, and I know we're talking about Disney versus our local pool, but at the same time, they are teenagers, but they do need that systematic, repetitive training and practice, because we're talking about kids in a pool.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also talking about then older kids watching kids in a pool.
Mhm.
So somebody has to be watching them at all times, the lifeguards. And I haven't seen that or felt comfortable, so I'm glad that that is something that's going to be addressed.
Yeah, I think there's lots of room for improvement there, and I think next year, the other thing, and I don't wanna relate this to what you're saying, cause safety's a kind of a little bit more paramount than this, but, they did offer different, higher wages.
Yes, but that's huge.
Yeah, it is big.
It
It
is
brings in a
huge.
lot more staff, a lot more to choose
Yes.
from, and, you know, I think it's more is expected of them a little bit too at that too.
Hey Ted, you mentioned updates on the rec center. Where are those funds coming from?
From the Minga Recreation Center. That was part of the rec levy. We identified certain things in the building that we wanted to address. They were pretty much, like, we've replaced the HVAC systems. They were 25 years old. They were dogs, and we've gotten those replaced. The fans. One of the things we're looking at doing still this year is replacing windows. We have a lot of windows that are broken in there. Things that will make the building a little bit more efficient, and but we've replaced a lot of lights in there too. I don't know if you remember last year we replaced the gym lights, put in the LEDs. We also replaced these lights, just the typical lights throughout the building. Added LEDs because we were replacing bulbs like every other week with some of these other lights fixtures that were in there. And the water fountains, so they're not really aesthetic fixes, but a lot of behind the scenes or functioning fixes that were needed in the building.
Any other questions? All right.
All right, I'm gonna jump to Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I've got a few things, I guess a PowerPoint here to help with this. No, you're good. Thanks, Lita. Yep. Okay. Okay. So the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we've been discussing this in council. We had a consultant come in and kind of give an overview of what this is. What we're looking at doing is we're proposing a needs assessment, and this directly relates to the recreation programming that we've talked about in the city. Our goal, what we want to do is go out to the public and find out what the recreation issues are in the city and how the public would like to see them fixed or what they would like to see in our recreation programming. We've been talking with Pros Consulting, who's a nationally recognized firm there across the country. They've completed these surveys throughout, and this needs assessment would be the initial phase of an overall master plan. It's the first phase, and it's a survey that would go out to the community, and there's several different forms of the survey. You know, we have the demographic and recreation trends, the focus groups, and then the public forums, and even the electronic surveys, and there's phone calls with that, and but it's a statistically valid survey, which means it'll get I think we need to get like, I want to say 400 and some responses from the city, across the city in different areas, but that will get the feedback we want to help us organize and find out what recreation programming the public wants to see. And it really focuses on that portion of it, and and it'll also look at some of the facilities and the inventory of the facilities and the recreation amenities and where we can improve. The next phase of that, which we're not looking at right now, but that would probably be sometime in next year, is the phase 2, is the action plan, which would help us complete the master plan, which would lay out some of our facilities plans in our recreation program and operation plans, and help organize that and get us to a point where we actually do what the public is looking for when it comes to recreation. And not just in recreation programming, but in our parks. So the needs assessment is something that we're looking at using parks improvement funds and park impacts fees. To pay for this work would come out of those two budget items, and initially the needs assessment we were looking at doing this in 2020, but we wanted to move it up because of the importance and the hot topic that it's kind of brought up, and we think it's time to do this. The last overall master plan was done in 2002, so I think there is a need for it now and updating it, because a lot of things have changed since then, and I think there's some areas that we're not recognizing that the public really wants to see changed, and this would help us get on track to do that. So I wanted to give everyone an update on where we're at with that. It's still at council, but I wanted to get feedback from this board also, what they felt about that. Do they have any opinions on that?
I'm curious to know how, I thought it was interesting, I understand the need to move it up, but right before a census seems like an interesting choice to me, because we're gonna get such valuable data about who lives here from that census, and I know being here for 5 years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Working in the school system, that the folks that are moving here are not the same folks that lived here 20 years ago.
Right.
And what I wonder is, how are we gonna reach out to the underserved communities and the communities who typically don't participate in coming to meetings and voicing their opinion about what they wanna see? Because I think we have a large population of folks who don't always feel like they have a voice, but deserve really good quality parks in their neighborhoods. So I'm curious to know how we're gonna target that population.
So we can do surveys and we can get 600 responses, but the statistically valid survey, it has a parameter set out where it needs to get responses from certain districts in the city. So that based on populations, like if there's 100 people that live in this area, we may need 40 responses from this area, and another it has smaller, but the statistically valid gives us an accurate reading of what the public overall wants, not just areas from the east side or areas from the south side. It's an overall survey, and it's not statistically valid until it gets enough responses. So like there might be, in the south area, they may need to get 100 responses, and they may have to call 100 people to get those 100 responses, because if they don't get enough from that area, then they have to just keep on going. So yeah, it's that's what that's where we overcome what you're talking about.
Ted, wasn't there an article from it was from San Francisco? Tom circulated with park equity or park. What's that called? Do you remember? I'm using the wrong term.
It is park equity. I mean, but just equity, recreational equity. There's a big, and it's kind of what we were just talking about. It's a lot of times some of the lower income areas get overlooked when it comes to parks.
Yes.
And it's because they're not involved as much in public government or various reasons. But there's a really big push nationwide anymore to make sure recreation needs are met throughout. And one of the things we did a few years ago is we looked at parks. The national goal is to have a park within 10 minutes of every household. We looked at Delaware, and we have parks, except in the south we don't have a community park, but we have neighborhood parks, and we have and school playgrounds, consider into that, but we don't have any big gaps in our city right now. So yeah, that social equity and that recreational equity is definitely something that is looked at even more nowadays. And one of the things we recognized also is, in the just south of here, we have Ross Street Park. It's not a very good park, but that's one of the things we're going to be meeting next month in that community to find out what amenities they want to see in that park, because we're going to do some renovation of that park, and that's a park that we are not or underserving that community right now. So that's one areas we want to work on and improve.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I personally think it's a good idea. I mean, I think obviously seems really almost long overdue.
Mhm.
In the fact that Delaware's population has changed
Mhm.
so much
Grown.
since the last time it has
Yes.
been done. And I think some of the needs, have either grown or changed from what they were back then.
Mhm.
So it'll be good to hear what residents say.
Mhm.
You know, they'd like to see more of, or another of, or whatever that of might be.
And that's a good point too, that, you know, some of those needs have grown. We may need more baseball fields, more soccer fields, more lacrosse fields, so that's something we wanna find out.
Anybody else? All right.
All right, I'll let you, sorry, it's wrong way. We are, in October, we are going to be putting in new park signs. So I wanted to kind of show you where some of the, we're not doing every park. This is part of the park levy funds. We put new park signs out. So I think in 2016, they finalized a wayfinding package for the city of Delaware. So we're following that package. And some of the areas we were looking at doing signs is on Hidden Valley Golf Course, the Oak Grove Cemetery at the Liberty Road entrance. As part of the master plan, we are revamping or opening up that back section and doing some landscaping and creating a more of a park-like setting back there. And we wanted to start with setting off with a sign for an entrance back there. Veterans Park, adding some of the new things, and we have the Memorial Plaza, the spray and play. Mingo Park, and you can see some of these are some of our community parks. Then we have some smaller signs. The Veterans Spray and Play Park. We wanted to distinguish that park. Make sure people recognize it as a city park. The Bennett Park, which is formerly East Side, that'll be that sign will be going up. And along the blue limestone is just a larger version of it, but we have kiosks going up in our parks, which will have a map on the back, and then also where we can display information, high tick warning or something like that, but just getting that information out to the public. That one in the small one in the bottom is another sign at Mingo. We've had some problems with directing traffic in that park, so we wanted to make that clear as possible and include that sign in the package. Any questions on the sign?
Looks good.
They look
Okay.
great.
Okay, and we started putting these up in the city, and the water treatment plant has one, and we have one in Public Works and Parks down there also. Okay, Wetland Park. This is kind of, if you'll look back here, we have that to be determined. This is a kiosk that's going out at Wetland Park. I want to find out I want to get some input from the board if Wetland Park is a name that you like out there, or would you rather see a different name out there? Because we are looking at opening up some of these areas in the park. Right now, the park basically is kind of cut off right here with the dog park here, but the city also owns this land area too. And so we're looking at concepts to open up that for some more trails, maybe adding Frisbee golf as another amenity in there, and possibly some shelters, because our shelter rentals are in demand. And then I think overall, maybe the park become more of a cross-country course to use. So, but we have the land right now. So, and then putting in some additional gravel trails. It's not a huge expense, but it's kind of low-lying fruit for the Parks and Rec. But I wanted to ask you about, what do you see as your park vision? What do you think about the name? Are there any other amenities that you could see out in this park?
I love the idea of gravel trails.
Okay.
I like them. They're
They're
nice
easy to maintain.
and soft and
And if the future, if asphalt trails, some of them, where there's a mix requirement, it's not a hard transition.
well, and they're still accessible, right? The gravel trails
Absolutely,
are,
'cause we'll put
are
the
still
fines on
accessible.
top.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm not. Where does the dog park end?
So the dog
Where-
park is, kind of see the outline of it right
Okay.
there. There's two fields right there.
And right now, the trail goes around this pond.
Yeah, it's this
Yep.
trail that's kind of highlighted there.
And so,
The dash lines are kind of some proposed trails.
okay.
And as you see, there is an issue with this, like, we don't own this piece of land.
Hey.
So, you know, in the meantime, we can always go out and around it, you know, maybe hopefully in the future we can work out some agreement where we kind of come across there. But, let me ask you this, what do you think of the name first off?
I think you can do better. I mean, it's vague. I don't think it represents Delaware well. I think
Yeah,
can do
you know,
better
that
than
name just stuck from when it was developed.
It makes
I
me think
actually
of
disagree. I think it represents the park. It doesn't have to represent the city. It
Uh-huh.
represents what it is.
Okay, well, that's good, that's exactly what I
Yeah.
wanna hear, yeah. Anyone else?
I think it would take, so, I feel sort of ambivalent about it. I honestly think if I heard the word wetland park, I would think of mosquitoes, and I would probably not go.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been out there, so I know better, and I would go. I don't know how appealing, how much, I don't just know how attractive that is. I think it's a representation of the land. I don't know that that's, ooh, I wanna go to Wetland Park.
I mean, I would agree it represents what
What
is
it is.
there very well.
Mhm.
It's just not an appealing
Yeah.
name. When you think of a wetland, you don't think of a city park that you would go visit. I would think of an area designated for wildlife.
Yes, and mosquitoes.
And it's, you know, it's not Mingo Park, it's not Smith Park.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which would be more traditional type parks, but I think this is one you would, especially if there is a Frisbee golf course.
Right.
Or running trails.
Yes.
Or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you know, and along to Gary's point, maybe there is a different name that we could use that could still signify, you know,
Yes.
I don't know if it was, you know, some type of animal that represented the wetlands a little bit more too.
I think
You know-
ultimately it needs to be decided what we want, what the land is gonna be used for. What's the main purpose?
Yeah, and as far as the wildlife, there is considerable wildlife out there,
Yes.
particularly around the lake. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's maybe not an inappropriate name, particularly as the park is right now.
Mm-hmm. I think ultimately it'll be, I mean, there's some active uses, but more or less a passive park.
Yeah.
I don't envision us putting softball fields out here or anything like that. You know, it doesn't really suit this piece of property. But I guess the other thing is I just wanted to kind of plant that seed, and I think as you guys think about it a little bit, if you think of something, please let me know. I'm anxious to hear what you have to, anything else you have to say about that. And
Is there access to that pond right now?
no.
Okay.
What pond?
This,
Yeah, it's hard to see on here, but this is all, an entire pot. This is all water.
Oh, okay.
and right now,
This used to be a campground back here.
Mhm.
oh,
So.
What's in there now?
Nothing.
Is that paved, what we see? Like,
No,
is that?
this is not paved. This is another entrance road that could possibly be put in there. Because they looked at doing a shelter, you know, a small restroom back here also. But mainly just expanding the trail system. And then
So-
the brown areas are just kind of proposing some prairie areas where we planted with prairies. Cuts down on our mowing and, you know, adds another element to the park.
would you envision fishing?
Yep. And it might be something, and it's where I'd want some of your input too, you know, we could do all fishing or kid fishing only, or, you know, there's different options there too.
It, in both sections or mainly the back?
Mainly the back. Those areas in the front are, not really, there's probably fish in there, but, they're really not
Probably no
conducive to
money.
fishing. Yeah.
I've been there a few
It's
times.
such
a
a,
nice
I
park.
love it. I absolutely love it there, and I am very excited at the prospect of it being expanded.
Okay.
And I agree, it's quiet, and I want
Mhm.
it, and I want it kept quiet.
Yeah. And I should mention too, this was like, I was looking at this as more of an event field space, it'd kind of be a grass, maybe we put grass pavers in or something, but if we did hold cross-country meets here, we could accommodate some of that parking. But overall, we just kind of wanted to add to what we have there now.
So
Not
there'd
really.
be, I'm assuming cross-country meets for Delaware
Yeah, I
days?
think I would like to appeal that, and even, you know, OWU. I've talked to the OWU coach, and they have their meets at Liberty Township down there now. And some of the distances on there, we tried to mimic off some popular cross-country courses so that, you know, they had their choices and they could hopefully utilize this park a little bit more.
I have a good friend that is a cross-country coach. I'm sure I could connect you with him and he would be happy to
Okay,
provide
because I've
any
talked to the
input.
Buckeye Valley cross-country coach and Delaware.
Okay, he's at one of the Olentangy high schools.
Okay.
And I know he would be more than happy to.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar, but there's a cross-country meets are pretty popular anymore.
Yeah,
They're,
yeah,
it'd be nice to hold some here.
yeah. And he would have a good understanding. They travel all over, even the country
Mhm.
at times,
Yeah.
to what really attracts to those good courses, so.
So we'll just call it Raising Cane's Park and.
That's what I was- yeah, that's where I was headed.
Well, if they wanna give some money towards it, yeah.
No, that's the joke. Sure. Okay, any other question? And like you said, if something comes to your mind later on, please let me know. Pass it along, share. Anything else on this? Okay. Well, we have another park that I want to talk to you about. So next, I think it's next Tuesday.
Correct.
Yeah, next Tuesday, we're having a public meeting out at Veterans Park at the Splash Pad. You're more than welcome to attend, and please do. I think it starts at 6:30. I'll send an invitation out later this week. But we want to get public input on this park. A new park we're looking at doing, just for your reference, the YMCA is here. Splash Pad is right here. This area is owned by the city now. It's basically about 30 acres, half woodlands and half agricultural field. We want to do a neighborhood park in this area. And so what we want to get from the public is what amenities they want to see in this park. We're kind of looking at some different options, you know, around there. I think trails is always a very high amenity that people want to see. You know, do they want to see some prairies, some conservation areas, some picnic shelters, obstacle course? I don't know if you've ever seen that obstacle course at Glacier.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that would be wildly popular
Yes.
because it's
I-
something Delaware
we-
Does not have, right.
And I know, I have that demographic in my house. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old and 2 active adults. And we drive there and it takes forever. And I
Yeah.
have tons of friends who drive there. I know that it would be used.
Okay, I think so too. I think it would be
Been there with the
something very
grandkids.
popular out
Yes,
there.
it is.
It's
As long as
so
American
fun.
Ninja Warrior still has it.
Too.
Exactly.
Really popular.
Well, and you know, being next to the Y, I think it, you know, it could be a program, extension of their programs in there too. We're looking at doing some natural play areas in the woodlands. It kind of lends itself to that already. And you know, trying to increase park programming, and then some educational opportunities out there. So it's kind of considered a passive park. You know, Glacier is a good example of what this park could be, but on a lot smaller scale, with some trails, maybe some obstacle course, but you know, some of that natural passive park areas. And again, we're looking at more of the neighborhood park. So right now, I threw up Heatherton and Willowbrook Park because that's what everyone refers to it as now, because those are subdivisions around there. So we're going to be you know, engaging the public to find out if they have any ideas or some better thoughts on the name out there also.
Just curious about parking.
It's being a neighborhood park, we're not really gonna look at doing too much parking in there. Because typically our neighborhood parks are meant for the community to come in there. Now, in this situation, being as close to Veterans Parks as it is, someone could easily park in Veterans and, you know, and get into this park. But that's something, you know, I wanna kinda hear from the public. Maybe the public wants parking in there, like a small parking lot or something.
Well, we're talking about putting big stuff in there, but having limited parking.
Yeah,
Something that's gonna draw a lot of people, but have no parking.
yeah.
I think if you put in a course similar to Glacier Ridge or something along those lines, I think it's gonna be a draw. I think
Mhm.
parking is something you should consider.
Okay.
I think it's nice that we can park at the Y or park,
Mhm.
at Veterans, but I think there's gonna be a demand for it.
Okay.
There's a lot of public parks and there's a lot of people that can walk to a park from their place, but no park in Delaware is gonna have that amenity.
Okay.
So I think it's gonna be a draw.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'll look at doing some parking there, and maybe I'll even introduce that at the public meeting to see what the public opinion is on that.
And they would probably have to cut into the park.
It will a little bit, but there's also some on-street parking. I don't know if you're familiar, this whole area has been developed.
Mhm.
Yes.
So there is some on-street parking there. This road is coming through now.
What is is that Boulder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how the people in those
I
neighborhoods
know.
would,
I was just
react
gonna
to
say.
a lot of,
Well,
park
that's
people
why I asked.
parking
I
on the
live in that,
street.
we live in that neighborhood.
Do you?
Well, close enough to that neighborhood.
Yeah. What do you feel about parking in there?
Well, it's already tight enough, but
Yeah.
that's why I asked.
Yeah, and that's something maybe we'll look at a little bit more and, you know, show how that could work in there. So the next step after we get done with this is we'll come up with some concepts based on the input we get and get that back out to the public and see what they like, what they don't like, and try to zero in on more of a little bit of a master plan for this park.
Is there an ETA on that?
Ideally, we have some money set aside in the park improvement fund, I believe, or maybe the park impact fee fund. And ideally, I'd like to move forward. I'm pretty sure trails is probably gonna be something that people are gonna wanna see in there, but that's another thing I wanna get from the public is what is their priorities? And, we could, you know, start something as soon as this fall or early spring next year out here.
What's Glacier Park?
Glacier Ridge?
Oh.
It's
down-
kind of in Dublin, although it's
Okay.
technically a Columbus City park.
It's
Yeah.
in Plain City.
Do you know where
Yeah, I
the
was
do
thinking
you know where
Plain City,
Costco
yeah.
is in Plain
Interesting.
City?
Kinda
It's not far
between
from
Dublin
there.
and-
Well,
Yeah, it's
Glacier-
Jerome Township. Is
Glacier's
Plain City,
actually a metro park.
But yeah, it's a Columbus Metro Park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's bizarre.
it's really weird how it is.
Yeah, but it's an awesome place.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So
really
there's a course you can run with things, ropes to swing on, things to climb,
Wow.
tunnels to
Little
go
z-
through.
Little zip line.
Yeah, so then there's like
Yeah.
the playground part too, yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
Horse trails.
Yeah, the
There's a-
playground's
There's a frisbee
incredible.
disc golf course out there that's
And
would
they
be
have that
impossible.
observation tower that you can see from 33 too. It's
Yeah.
really nice.
Okay.
Oh, I haven't done that.
Okay. Good input, and that's what I was looking for. This was another item that came up, and I guess, sorry it took so long to get to this, but so this is our Veterans Park splash pad. So we have these two structures out here, the dinosaur head and the grayer one with the prehistoric. You know, they were originally part of the design for this to kind of fit in with the theme, the dinosaur theme out there. And the structures are, kids climb on them all the time. You can see, I thought I put a picture in here where I didn't, but they're always climbing on them. You know, we do the no climbing, but we don't have a person on staff out here that constantly watches over this park. It's just like a playground area. So we've had some incidents over the past several years where, you know, kids fall off these structures. So I wanted to kind of bring it to you and get your input on this and the public's input also. You know, there's some options here. You know, the things we could do is they have a sprinkler system. We could replace these structures with, you know, a ground mount, surface mounted sprinkler head or a water head, and, you know, remove them. It'll take a little bit. I don't think it'll be super difficult at all because, like I said, there is a sprinkler or a nozzle included in these structures already. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention and see what your thoughts were on it, and, you know, hear from the public also, which is great. We don't usually have public at the meeting, so this is good. And see what, you know, how we want to move forward with this.
So is the issue, just so that I understand right, is that basically kids are getting hurt on it and we're trying to figure out how to minimize
Yeah,
that?
they'll climb on them and then fall on them.
Then they need to be removed. If you don't want a child to climb on that, it needs to be removed.
Yeah.
Cause if I'm a kid,
It's
I'm gonna
not,
climb on it.
I mean,
I know. They're part of they're part of
Yeah.
the design, and yeah, I mean, they look like
it looks like
inviting.
I should
Oh,
climb
my
on
God.
it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm at a park and I'm a kid
I'm
and I'm
climbing
looking
on
for
it.
something to do, that's probably gonna be on my list, is
Yes.
to climb on that.
And as you know, this park is very crowded, so it can,
Yes.
yeah.
And little children can't read, so they can't read that it says no climbing.
Mhm.
And
I
I
wouldn't care
honestly
either.
have been there and I don't recall ever reading that sign, so.
Okay. You wanna hear from the public?
Sure.
Yeah.
You will have to come up. I know, I apologize. You'll have to come up to the microphone because it is recorded and state your name and address. I know.
My name is Carrie Reble, and I live at 1835 Warren Road in Ostrander. My son fell off the rock, and I want to first say how great the splash pad is and how much fun we have there and how much we enjoy it. So I don't want any more rules or regulations, nothing like that. I'm emotional because I feel like I failed him, because I know the risk when I took him here. But I was watching my younger son, and my 3, almost 4-year-old climbed up on there and fell off, and he had 7 stitches in his forehead. Like I said, it's a great park, it's a lot of fun, but as you both stated, it's too tempting for young children to have these 2 structures at this park with concrete underneath. I know the concrete is the most sanitary, and I don't disagree with any of that. I don't disagree with anything at the park. I just ask that we consider the removal of those 2 things for something a little more safe that is not so tempting and so easily harmful to children.
In the emergency room, I guess. I'm Maya Rund. I live at 312 Basswood Street, Delaware, Ohio. When she was in the emergency room at Grady, they said they're seeing kids all the time from the splash pad.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, lots of kids fall and don't get hurt. I mean, I have 2 little girls that fall all the time.
Right.
You know, so. And I talked to Stacy, the head of the Parks Department, and he said it's $1,000 to fix the problem on a $300,000 splash pad. $1,000 is what he told me. So.
Yeah, that's basically the cost of a sprinkler head to replace what's there now.
Can I get your name again and address?
Mine or Gary's?
Well, yours.
Myra Rund, 312 Basswood Street.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
And I got Carrie's.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming to the meeting and
Yeah,
saying
thank
something.
you.
Now, to put a sprinkler head there, is there any other work that needs to be done? If you have water that's shooting up on the concrete, does that pose any other issues?
No, but it's just basically purchasing the surface mounted sprinkler head and
Right.
hooking the water line that's currently connected to these into that. So yeah, it's definitely something that can be done.
But no need for a drainage area or
Oh, no,
a
it's all,
different,
no,
you know,
no. It's basically just
underlayment?
removing the structure, you know, filling in a few holes and putting a surface mount on there.
Can we do that for next spring?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, especially budget times now, so probably get it right in there.
I think if the expectation is that children don't climb on those structures, then they need to be removed.
And do we need a recommendation here or a motion? Not
Probably
necessary.
wouldn't hurt, a recommendation from the board would be good, yeah.
I recommend they be removed.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So is that where you need me to say, would you like to call roll?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, does anybody oppose any of that? I think it sounds pretty unanimous.
I'll call the roll then.
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Shul?
Yes.
Ms. Stogler?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Chairman Bricker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming.
ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, ladies.
Not the last time, the other item, we've been approached by Planet Aid. You're probably familiar, you've seen these bins around town. They've requested to site this at Mingo Park. I don't have a problem with the overall thing, but he was looking at doing this area right here. It's not a parking space. It's kind of just a no man's land, but that's really not going to work for the parks. We pile snow up there in the wintertime. The other concern we have with these bins is sometimes they look kind of trashy if they're not
On the outside,
taken
right.
in, and
Okay.
I don't know what your feeling is on that, but people dump mattresses off there, and I don't want to create another maintenance issue out here. Even though it is a good cause, I really, you know, But I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this and how you want to proceed with this.
Do they normally go in a park? I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
seen one in a
I've never-
park.
I think they're, I don't know,
See them in,
public
like-
space sometimes, but I know I always see them at like,
Parking
private
lots.
parking areas, yeah.
Yeah.
There is one in our parking lot at work, and it is
It's a mess.
constantly
Mhm.
overflowing, and it looks horrible.
Okay,
I mean,
that's what I've seen too.
it is not, they are not well maintained.
I'll be honest, that's the one comment that I wrote down about this topic was looking at the agreement that they sent you. There's nothing in there that stipulates when or how often they will pick it up.
Yeah,
And that's my concern is that, you know, if it sits there for weeks because
Right.
they're only gonna pick it up once a month, it's gonna make whatever park it's in look like trash.
yeah,
Now, if they agree to pick it up on a weekly basis, check it on a weekly basis, and do more frequent pickups as needed, I would be more open to it, but in the agreement they sent you, I mean, they could pick it up once a year and that they're fulfilling their agreement.
right. Okay. Those are definitely my concerns also, is that, you know, I was thinking even more than weekly, like every,
That's what I
3
was gonna
days or
say,
something.
because even at the one at work, you'll notice like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and then clearly somebody has brought half of their possessions and dumped them in and all around it, and then it's, you know, week, 2 weeks.
and Monday morning is a must to have to go out there.
So it's really,
Okay,
I just don't like the idea of it being in a park at all.
okay,
Regardless of how often they pick it up. It just,
yeah.
aesthetically, I don't know why we would want that.
okay. And we haven't said anything to him, I just wanted to bring it to you, so I can relay that to him and maybe, offer some suggestions around town that maybe he tries, like maybe the big parking lot up here by, Wendy's. I mean, there's some other places
Yeah.
around.
And that seems more logical.
That's a great place.
That seems
Okay.
much more logical.
If they don't already have one.
Yeah, they don't wanna have one there.
Nope.
I think they do.
Okay,
I've seen them in like Kroger lots too.
yeah. Yeah, that's my biggest concern is just, I don't want him to look unkempt and just make the park look bad. Okay. Clear enough, I'll, move forward with that, just kinda give them a recommendation of maybe some other areas, that we just don't have any good spots right now. And in the parking lots is very difficult because we use them for snow piling usually in the winter time, and this would just get in that way. Okay, Delaware Greenways. I wanted to kind of update you on where we are with this group. It's more of a grassroots group in Delaware. I think I've mentioned before. Bob's on this group. He's active member, and he's been going to a lot of these meetings. And just we've kind of zeroed in on what our mission, our vision, and then also zeroed in on like 3 major goals. And one of them's like a trail development goal, which will focus on looking at that potential greenways in Delaware. Another one is a partnership goal, where we look at potential partners that will help us build these greenways, help put some of the amenities out there like benches and interpretive signage. And then the programming goal, which really is another facet of the Greenways initiative, is to really educate the public on these greenways and some of the areas in there, like interpretive panels, natural education, and just some of the amenities that can be seen on the greenways. So we're making good progress. This logo is still a work in progress. So but we've had a lot of input on that and looking at updating that. But I just wanted to kind of give you a quick update on this group. It's a great group, and they've taken a lot of interest, and they're moving forward with a lot of the work right now. That was it. I did have one other item. So I've been approached since this went out about a running club. It is it's called the Healthy Kids Running Series. They are looking at doing a running club at Veterans Park, and it appeals to a lot of kids, and it's more of a wellness program to help younger kids get into running. I think it lasts about 5 weeks. They would do it outside of the splash pad seasons so Memorial Day. They finish one season before Memorial Day and start the next one after Labor Day. And they're talking about meeting out there for an hour and a half every Sunday for 5 weeks. These kids run, they get medals, but they also, you know, try to improve on their times, and it seems like a really good program, and it's a national, you know, it's not just some fly-by-night program. There's one in Hilliard right now, so I think it's a good idea. We've done similar things like this. I don't know if you remember Tinker Garden we did out at Blue Limestone this last summer. It was a really good program. We just required, I think 10% of whatever they made. We just don't want to let anybody come into the parks and do programs, but we also don't want to hinder them or bind them with a huge fee or anything like that. But wanted to see what your thoughts were, and if it's something we look forward to getting more information on.
So this is a program they run?
They run. We don't really have any involvement. I mean, we keep the park clean, and but they run it. It's a self-sufficient program, and they provide the medals. There's a fee for the kids, but it's a pretty nominal fee. I think that she was saying it was like $40, but go source T-shirts, and then they have races. And
Which park did you?
Veterans Park. They're going to use that loop trail around the park.
I thought the YMCA had a run club right now.
I don't know if they have a run club or not. I can check that out.
They do.
Okay.
Or it's a different organization using that space.
You know, if that was an issue, I think we could look at doing Mingo even.
Mhm.
You know, separating
Or
it out a little
Smith.
bit. Or Smith, yeah,
Mhm.
Smith would be a good one too.
Smith is a nice size loop. I mean, I love this idea. I thought that might be a conflict, but, and I can say that VV and Delaware City, those cross-country coaches put together a little running series over the summer, and it's several, weeks in a row, and then they end in a cross-country meet, and I was astonished at how many participants there were.
Mm-hmm.
Fleet Feet also does a kids summer running series, and the first event there were 100 kids
Really?
showed up, and they normally get 50 to attend the first event. So, I mean, I know just from personal experience that they seem to be pretty popular events for
Yeah.
younger kids. So I think it would be well attended, but I'm pretty sure that the Y currently does something.
Yeah, I think she was thought there'd be like about 50 kids there, because she's saying the one in Hilliard gets more than that, but
Yeah.
she thought initially. So, anything that helps youth or kids get
Yep.
active, I think is a good thing, so.
That's awesome.
It's not a burden on our staff at all, really, so, if you're, in agreement, I'll move forward and see what, she proposes officially, so.
So if the Y is doing something, there's no conflict?
I don't think so, as long as they're not doing this Healthy Kids Running series.
Okay.
Cause it's a different program, and especially if we did it at Smith Park or something, or a different park. I'll talk to them definitely more about that though, and make sure that, we're not gonna be taking from them, or if it is, something, maybe there can be a shared, somehow, or expand the program. Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, we have made some progress on a cricket field in Delaware. So yeah, I want to show you this too. We have a Delaware United Cricket Club. I met with a group out there, and I think we have a champion from Delaware too. They're one of the champion teams. So it's real. It's out there. What we did is we looked at find these. So we looked at some concepts out at Smith, or at Veterans Park, where we could do these cricket fields. We looked at, we can easily fit one of them out there. And let me back up a little bit too.
Is that not working?
Is the splash pad at the top of the?
Yeah, the splash pad's at the top here, if I get too close. So right now, we program, the Y programs flag football, those fields there, and then they also have some soccer fields down in here. If we add a cricket field, which is the oval, looks like an egg. I should have highlighted that a little bit more, but it looks like an egg there. That will not impact those fields at all. They can still, we'll just have to schedule programs in there and everything. But I also wanted to look at how we could get two fields out there, because I think eventually we're going to need a second field. there's 11 teams, I guess, cricket teams in Delaware.
Wow.
So getting that second field out there, I think is still gonna be something we're gonna need to do. So, I wanted to see how that would fit, and I talked to them, and that, you see that little overlap where those two eggs kinda overlap a little bit, they didn't think of that would be any problem, so. I think, in the long term, we're not, this is land that's already there, we just have to kinda get a little creative with scheduling and making sure everybody's on the same page, but, I think the other thing this will introduce is, a youth cricket, interleague. Dublin just got a youth cricket team and someone else, so if we don't get on board, we're gonna fall behind and we'll lose our championship, so. But I think that's a great, another way to, get, more youth involved in sports, and they're willing to take a lot of this on, and there'll be adult cricket games out here also, but, I think we can make this work out there. They're agreeable to it, and, I
So,
think.
so
it's
Ted,
good
they
to-
could have two concurrent games going on at the same time?
Yep, I wanted to make sure that overlap wasn't an issue,
Right.
and sometimes they can reduce the size of the field a little bit, but, I mean, that's really the outfield, so, it can work, they said.
There was originally, I thought, a concern about the pitch
Well,
needed.
we're looking at doing a concrete pitch, that was what they wanted to see, so we think we can put these concrete pitches in there and still be able to do those other fields around there. I mean, we have all that space, the concrete pitch is just this area right here. So that's all the bigger that is. So yeah, we can't have a soccer field over top of that, but
You
we
can
can always put the
perimeter.
soccer fields out and around them.
That was my only question. Have you talked to, I guess, the majority of groups that utilize those fields, whether it be flag football, soccer, whatever it is, and they're okay with a concrete pitch there?
Yes, so we talked, the YMCA is the only one that utilizes that portion of the field. To the north is DYA, north of the splash pad, but yeah, we've talked to them, and like I said, the only thing we really have to be concerned with is the scheduling. So if they wanna do cricket games on, during the season, I think their season is mainly through the summer, so that doesn't impact a lot of, flag football and a lot of soccer start up in the fall. There is some soccer, but it can be a shared use field.
And there's no concern with, a concrete pads right on the edge boundaries of the
No,
soccer
what we'll
field?
end up doing is moving the fields. I mean, you can see we have a big portion of green space here, so we can move some fields around. And yeah, they're not gonna be lined up perfectly like that anymore, but, we might have one here and then two across here, but it can definitely work. And it's a big space out there too. And we get a lot of comments on this cricket fields, and, or a lot of, people wanting them, and, it's just hard to go out and build a new cricket field.
And where are they playing now?
Down in Columbus.
Okay, so they don't have any,
They don't have anything down here, but, this is something we have already. I'm gonna work with them on how we, move forward with, paying for the cricket pitches and, scheduling and everything like that. And we do, it's not anything unusual. I mean, we schedule soccer, baseball, we have to, get on the same page as far as scheduling goes, so, we're just gonna add another sport to it. But I think it's important that we, try to get them. We'll start with one field, see how it progresses, and see how it works. Okay,
Looks good.
I love it.
all right, if there's no question on that,
Is there still talk about doing a cricket thing across the, street in that new, I don't even know the name of it, the Boulder Park?
I don't think so, because that's more of a, we need a big parking lot for that. And, we have the parking lot here already, so, yeah, and, when we move forward maybe with the South Community Park, that would be something to consider in there also, as the cricket fields, but this one, we could easily get one in there and really not impact the scheduling at all out there too much. I just wanted to be able to put a second one in, because I think that's gonna be something that's gonna be, they're gonna want another one soon. The only other item I had, sorry I'm so long here, but, skate park cameras, we had a request, a parent wanted the skate park cameras back on. We had them out there, but they haven't been working since I've been here. We're gonna get those replaced, and there'll be a online version where people can just view and see if their kid's out there or if it's crowded. And then there'll be another version that'll have a zoom camera and movable that'll go to the police department. And yep. So there's two cameras in there. We just don't want the public zooming in on anything like that. So Those should be replaced, I would say, by the end of the year. And I will stop there.
All right, so that's it for staff comments as well? That's your kind of.
Yeah, I think I
update,
summed it
staff
all up.
comment,
Elaine's kicking me under the table here,
Discussion
so.
all in a row.
I am totally kicking you.
All right, any member comments?
I just wanted to thank the board for the work, time, and patience on the smoking policy, because it finally passed and the signs are in the parks, and it's
Right.
nice to see. So, especially the patience part, I know that wasn't,
Great job.
a little
Thank
finicky.
you.
Have there been any comments, yay or nay, or anything about?
I haven't heard anything.
I mean, I haven't heard anything from anybody. I didn't know if anyone's put up a fight or loved them or,
No, haven't heard anything.
yeah.
So,
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ted.
Yes, sir.
Got a couple comments from neighbors of mine that take their dogs to Mingo Park,
Mhm.
and there's no doggy waste bags stations at Mingo.
At Mingo?
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
Is there?
Yeah, there's several of them around there.
Mhm.
Well, I'll make note of that.
I know
Because-
there's
On the
three,
trail.
maybe,
On the
yeah,
trail? Okay.
Yeah.
maybe 4 of them out there. And they get used because we're replacing those bags a lot.
Well, please disregard that last comment. And I will let the neighbors know.
Yeah, they're right along the trail.
Okay.
Chairman Bricker, I accidentally skipped over welcoming the new members, so might want
No?
to go
Yes.
ahead. I was anxious to get the mic over to you, or somebody, so you.
Yes.
So if you want to take a quick second and.
Sure. Jillian, would you like to welcome to the group? I know a lot of us have been here for a little while now, but a short speech or, let everybody know.
A little bit
about
me.
you. Yeah.
I go by Jill Stobler. We've lived in Delaware for 8 years now, and love the community, love being here. And I have 2 children. They're 8 and 12, yes, that participate in all kinds of sports and activities. And then I myself do running races and triathlons. So we're in the park system quite a bit. So the topic that brought me here was actually the smoking. I went to the city council meeting regarding that and heard the speech about the Parks and Rec and was like, that is something that I would love to participate in, love to be a part of. So I'm excited.
You missed some heated discussions. Oh, and then Maria?
I'm Maria Schul. I'm 16 and I'm a junior at Hayes High School. And I've lived in Delaware my whole life. And I take the AP Environmental Science class at Hayes. So that's how I found out about this board. And my teacher sent out an email at the beginning of the year and had us apply for a position on the board as the student representative. So it's kind of my job.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
It's a fun board to be on. I think we've accomplished a lot in the short amount of time I've been on it. So it's fun to see those changes to the city. So, all right. Anybody else have any other comments or any other discussions? Hearing none, I would just need the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right. Can you take the final roll, or are we good with that? Awesome. All right. Well, 7:43, we are adjourned.
Congratulations. Great job, Chairman.